Good afternoon. My name is Adam Freed, and I lead the sustainability practice at Bloomberg Associates, where I help mayors achieve their social, economic, and environmental goals, including on affordable housing. Now, before we dive into today's session, I want to do a quick poll. If affordable housing is a challenge in your city, please raise your hand. Wow. All right. Now, one other question. If it's one of your top issues, please put your hand up again. Just look around the room really quickly. Almost every hand in the room is up, which we thought was going to happen. As your hand showed, the availability of high-quality, affordable housing is an enormous challenge for cities around the world, regardless of their size or geography. But at CityLab, we like to focus on solutions. So we're here to share some incredible actions being taken by 5 local governments from around the world to create more housing for their communities. These rapid presentations, which span 4 continents, will hopefully spark your imagination and help you unlock opportunities in your cities. First up, we'll hear about a rapid housing initiative for residents experiencing homelessness in the United States. Please welcome Josh Humphries, who serves as the mayor's policy advisor for housing in the city of Atlanta, Georgia.
It's great to be from Atlanta. T.I., the artist from that song, actually recently got into affordable housing, and we were at his grand opening just last year for his first affordable housing project. So we get a little bit of hip-hop and a little bit of affordable housing. When Mayor Dickens took office in 2022, he set a goal to build or preserve 20,000 units of affordable housing by 2030. Less than 3 years in, we're over halfway there with 10,000 units either completed or currently under construction. But typical housing construction takes 3 to 5 years to deliver. And for our unhoused residents, that simply isn't fast enough. So last year, we decided to push the envelope. We launched an effort to deliver 500 modular housing units for unhoused residents by the end of 2025. Our first project is called The Melody. In just 4 months, we transformed this city-owned parking lot into 40 permanent supportive housing units, complete with a dog park, community kitchen, and on-site laundry. This is what the site looked like in October of 2023. We built the units leveraging shipping containers and modular buildings. This enabled us to complete the site work at the same time that we were building the units off-site in a factory. Construction crews rallied around this vision to provide housing for our most vulnerable residents, working around the clock, day and night, and even through the holidays to make this happen. To pay for this project, the mayor issued an executive order that fully funded the entire initiative. Our bet was that delivering quality product quickly would open up the opportunities that we needed in order to meet the need that our residents had to deliver this project quickly. And our bet paid off. By February 2024, residents were moving in. So from October 2023 to February 2024, our residents were moving in. And just last month, Atlanta City Council passed a $60 million housing bond alongside a $60 million philanthropic raise to make sure that we can deliver our 460 remaining units by the end of next year. Our next project breaks ground later this month. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Josh. And I'll note that the presentation Josh just gave is one of the ideas that's featured in the Bloomberg Cities Idea Exchange, so an opportunity to learn more. Now, are you guys ready for the next city, and we're ready to go? All right. Joining us from Namibia to share how they're upgrading informal settlements to create new and improved housing, please welcome Mayor Queen Kamati of the city of Windhoek.
Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, Windhoek is the capital city of Namibia and its largest city. Windhoek continues to grow rapidly as migrants from across the country and the African continent seek a new home here. Over the past 10 years, our city's population has increased approximately 40%, to more than 500,000 residents today. The big challenge is that many of our residents, close to 37%, live in the informal settlements with limited or no access to infrastructure or basic services such as water or sanitation. As informal settlements continue to grow, we ask ourselves, what can we do to provide housing and basic services to so many people? Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, in 2019 and 2021, we passed new policies that enable the incremental upgrading of informal settlements and construction of affordable housing units. Today, we are proud to say we have already built units for 500 households and have an additional 800 to go by 2025 as part of our pilot project. With each new development, residents purchase the home and the land on affordable terms. For example, we upgraded the Onyeka informal settlement to a formalized settlement, which has provided over 150 low-income households with much-needed housing and municipal services. As another example, in Korea Hub Extension 4, we provided new housing to uniformed personnel residing in existing informal settlement. This project is part of the decongestion program of unplanned informal settlement, paving the way for upgrading of services and formalization of tenure. Projects like this have a positive impact on people's lives by guaranteeing security of tenure, quality municipal services, dignity, and many other benefits associated with stable housing. In conclusion, we aim to provide housing opportunities for 12,000 families by 2027, and I thank you.
Now let's move to Europe to hear how policy and process improvements are making zoning changes easier and more impactful. Please join me in welcoming Jan Mazúr, Head of Strategy for the city of Bratislava in Slovakia.
Hello, it's so good to be here. Housing affordability in the beautiful city of Bratislava has been in decline ever since the fall of communism. The city lost almost all of its housing stock in the 90s and 2000s. It hasn't been able to build enough public housing, and changes to zoning laws have been too slow. The result is that the affordability of both rental housing and home ownership continues to worsen. To counter this trend, we recently created a zoning policy, thanks to which changes to the master plan are faster and private developers contribute to the creation of public housing and public infrastructure. Because these changes to the master plan increase land values, the city has created a predictable, fair and transparent policy in which part of the profit from these developments is shared with the city through contribution. The policy is now fully adopted and used across the whole city. The pilot project yields 143 apartments, which are currently being built and will soon be provided to the city as affordable housing. This means an increase of over 16% of city-owned housing stock. An additional approximately 1,300 apartments are in the pipeline, and an additional 63 million euros have been secured for public investments in brownfield areas. The upzoning projects currently under consideration will almost triple the city's current housing stock, while allowing developers to provide additional housing to the market. And our takeaways: build policy that is fair, take developers as partners, and develop smart strategy ahead of changes to your master plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. Now let's go to Chile, where they're increasing density to support multi-generational families and create vibrant communities. Here from the city of Renca, please welcome Deputy Mayor Julian Gallardo.
Thank you, Adam. I'm glad to be here. Well, in the 60s, Chile was a poor country. Because the government couldn't afford to provide housing, it gave the urban poor a plot of land upon which to build their homes. The site and service scheme grew rapidly in the developing world. and thousands of sites on the outskirts of cities were self-built. Mrs. Juana's house in the city of Renca was one of them. Over the years, Mrs. Juana had children, and those children had children too, and so on. The problem was that as the family grew, their home remained almost the same. But they wanted and needed to stay together to survive economically, to maintain their family ties and shared identity. In an urban sprawl model, providing Mrs. Juana's family more space would mean the destruction of this critical support network. Instead, Chile created the Pequeño Condominio micro-settlement program. On the same plot of land given to them in the 60s, Mrs. Juana's family now lives in 3 separate apartments of more than 60 square meters each. In this model, the family stayed together in a better home, and the city densifies instead of sprawling. But Mrs. Juana's family is not an isolated case. 6,000 plots just in Renca and more than 200,000 in the greater Santiago could tell the same story. An expansion of this policy could end the entire housing shortage with no additional land consumption, making not only affordable housing, but sustainable cities and better lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Gallardo. And for our last great idea of the day, we'll shift to the county where I actually grew up. Here to talk about an innovative local funding mechanism creating high-quality public housing in the United States, please welcome Chelsea Andrews, President of the Opportunities Commission for Montgomery County, Maryland.
Hello, thank you so much, Adam. It's so great to be here. Like many of you, our county, a diverse suburb with over 1 million residents, a diverse suburb of Washington, D.C. with over 1 million residents, has struggled to remain affordable despite deploying every tool imaginable to address housing affordability. To date, we have over 40,000 people on our waiting list. So in 2021, we worked with our council to create an innovative Kickstarter tool called the Housing Production Fund. The Housing Production Fund is an accelerating construction tool. Our council authorized $2.1 million in annual bond allocation that yielded $100 million in revolving fund for HOC to build mixed income housing, where market rate units subsidize affordable units, creating a more inclusive community, removing reliance on the private sector and ensuring long-term affordability. This revolving fund is one we project will help us build 6,000 units in the next 20 years. And after 20 years, the bonds will be paid off and we can continue to produce even more housing. We completed our first project, as you can see here, the Laureate in 2023, in just 2 years after the fund adoption. And I'm pleased to share that we just broke ground on our second development, Hillendale Gateway, last month. Necessity is the mother of invention. This fund, the quality of housing we're building, and the lives we're affecting is driving innovation across the country as others look to adopt the model in their own jurisdictions. HOC is not your average housing authority, and we are pretty darn proud of it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chelsea. Now let's have another big round of applause for Atlanta, Windhoek, Bratislava, Renca, and of course, Montgomery County. Hopefully these ideas have inspired you. If you'd like to learn more about any of these programs or have a deeper conversation around housing, you can find our speakers on a break or join them tomorrow morning for coffee at the Affordable Housing Breakfast Chat at 7:45 a.m. in the lobby. Thank you so much for being here.